Salani, I have started recording. You can start the program.
Okay. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Inquiry about the nature of ourselves in order to try to live a peaceful life inwardly and outwardly by the help of our teachers, Sri Bhagavat from South India. So, Sri Bhagavat, please, you can start.
Okay. Welcome to all of you. So we are continuously seeing what is the total mind and what is the conscious mind. And we inquire about it in two ways, the total mind and conscious mind. Thereby, we can have an idea about the function of our mind and what is the nature of its reaction to the outer world, the outer problems, so we can have a peaceful life within ourselves and we can do our duties with ability. So in all respect, we have to see what is the role of total mind and what is the role of conscious mind. And the total mind comprises of Manam, Buddhi, Siddham, Ahankar. So the mind, intellect, our personality, and our ego. So the totally four parts, and the four parts totally known as the total mind. And the first part is the mind. Within the conscious mind itself, there is four categories, four classifications. There are so the first part of our conscious mind is the sensory part. Because of the sensory part, it knows everything, it feels everything, it receives everything. So that the receptive nature of the conscious mind occupies 70% of the conscious mind. That is the basic nature of the conscious mind. Remaining 30% is occupied by the remaining intellect, personality, and ego, each having 10%. And here, what is the role of the sensory part? What is the role of the intellect part? What is the role of the part of the personality or Siddham? And what is the role of ego? We have already seen the role of the sensory part, intellect part, and the ego part. And the remaining portion, the remaining aspect is only the Siddha, the personality part. That is the basic nature of ourself. That is the basic character of ourself. And what is the role of the Siddham in our conscious mind? So we have many problems in our life. And what is the cause for our problem? If we analyze what is the cause for our problem is, we are taking some responsibility in our problem. By taking responsibility in the problem, the responsibility processes ourselves, and within the, for the reason of the pressure, we feel some problem, we feel some tension. Everything, we can be free from everything. So we analyze which part of the conscious mind takes the responsibility. So now we are going to take, we are going to see whether the personality part, the real nature of ourselves, whether it takes the responsibility for ourselves, whether it takes the responsibility of our problem. And to begin with, you can share your idea first as usual. If you have any idea on the outset of your mind, you need not give a correct picture of that. What you feel on the very outset of your mind, you can tell something, and afterwards you can discuss. You can translate the introduction and ask the question.
אז שרי בגבד למעשה חזר על מה שלמדנו במפגשים הקודמים, על המבנה הפסיכולוגי שלנו שמחולק לארבעה, להכרה המודעת, לאגו, למבנה של האישיות שלנו ולאינטלקט. כאשר בשיעורים האחרונים בדקנו את ההכרה המודעת שלנו, וגם אותה חילקנו לארבעה חלקים, ש70% מההכרה המודעת זה החלק הסנסורי, החלק התפיסתי, החושי, ו10%, 30% הנותרים מתחלקים לשלוש, האגו, האינטלקט והאישיות שלנו. דיברנו על האגו ודיברנו על האינטלקט, והיום שרי בגבד רוצה שנדבר על האישיות. ומה ששרי בגבד אומר זה כשאנחנו בוחנים את החיים שלנו ורואים מהו הגורם לסבל בחיים שלנו, אנחנו בעצם רואים שזאת האחריות שאנחנו לוקחים על עצמנו, כשאנחנו באים לפעול בעולם, אנחנו מרגישים אחראים על איזושהי פעולה, אחראים על איזשהו מעשה, דיבור, וכאשר יש את התחושה הזאת של האחריות, שזה רובץ על הכתפיים שלי, ואני אמור לעשות משהו, אז בעצם נכנס הסבל לתמונה. כי זה אני צריך לעשות, ואז יש תחושה של קיבוץ וסבל נכנס. אז שרי בגבד מזמין אותנו לדבר, מה שאנחנו מרגישים, זה לא צריך להיות משהו מאוד חכם או מאוד מדויק, מה אנחנו מרגישים לגבי העניין הזה של האישיות, אותם תכונות בסיסיות שאנחנו נולדים איתן. אותו מחסן של התת מודע שאנחנו נולדים איתו ושהוא מכתיב במידה רבה איך שאנחנו מתנהלים בעולם ואפילו איך אנחנו חושבים בדברים. אז מה דעתנו על זה? וזה אחראי על לקיחת אחריות, והתחושה שאני זה שעושה, אני זה שצריך לקחת את האחריות. אז שרי בגבט מזמין אותנו לדבר מה שעולה לנו. בסדר? אתם מוזמנים עכשיו. אוקיי, שרי בגבט.
Okay. And anybody wants to contribute, you can share your ideas first.
Shri Bhagavat, do you mean, so your question is actually what is the portion of the personality, does it take the responsibility of acting in the world?
No.
Is this the question?
Yeah, it's the question.
Mm-hmm. So I would say from the outside of my mind, I would say that the personality is, in my view, is not taking the responsibility. It is more the ego and the intellect which take the responsibility. So in my view, the personality is just our attitude towards things. How do we think about certain things? How do we behave if we are maybe have a shy nature or aggressive nature or things like that, which is inborn nature. But it's just the attitude to life and how we see things. Do we tend to be optimistic or pessimistic or all these kind of traits? But I don't see how is the personality taking the responsibility. I think it's more the intellect and the ego that together takes the responsibility. This is how I see it.
And anybody else wants to come. You may also translate your own idea in your own language also.
אוקיי, אז מה שאני אמרתי זה שלהשקפה שלי, אני לא רואה איך האישיות היא זאת שבעצם לוקחת אחריות, כי להבנה שלי האישיות היא פשוט הדרך שבה אנחנו מתנהלים בעולם, הדרך שבה אנחנו מסתכלים על דברים. למשל, אנחנו אופטימיים או פסימיים, אנחנו ישנים או אגרסיביים, יצאים או יותר מדויקים, שייכים למדע המדויק, כל מיני תכונות בסיסיות כאלה ואחרות, אבל לא משהו שיכול לקחת אחריות, זה יותר איזשהו גישה כללית לחיים, תהיות לכאן ולכאן. That's it. That's it, Shubhagam.
Okay, anybody else wants to share their idea?
வணக்கம் ஐயா.
வணக்கம்.
What I think is, even in the personality, the intellect and then ego also come into play there. And the intellect is a wavering intellect in the conscious mind. It gives different things, and then ego wants the way it's supposed to happen. Like if I like it, I want the result to be what I want. So that is mixing with personality. So it personality can't function properly. That's why I think.
Okay.
אני חושבת ששלושתם פועלים, כל אחד 10%. שגם האינטלקט, גם האגו וגם כן האישיות שלנו, התכונות. ככה אני חושבת שיש שילוב של כל הדברים האלה. תודה.
Is saying that she thinks that also the ego and the three of them are taking responsibility together.
Ego and
the intellect and the personality, they all together take responsibility.
Okay.
Okay.
Morning.
Mm.
I also think, like Lanir said, maybe I will say only the intellect take the responsibility. Our nature, the personality is just what we are born. It's a combination of tendencies, of characteristics, which maybe we're born with, or maybe we are acquired from the anyway, I don't think it will take any responsibility. I think it's the ego, the intellect, because the ego, in a way, is. I don't think even the ego can. The ego is just the sense of doership, or it has the feeling of taking responsibility, but the driver, we would say, would be the intellect. Because if my mind, the way I tend to see things, if the intellect says something, then the whole vehicle goes after it. So I would say the intellect is the thing that takes the responsibility, and the ego will be the outcome of the execution of this taking responsibility. I think.
Okay.
Thank you.
You may translate in your own language also.
Okay. אז מה שאני אמרתי זה שאני חושבת שמי שלוקח את האחריות יהיה האינטלקט, כי האישיות היא אוסף של תכונות שאולי נולדנו איתם או רכשנו אותם. האגו זה התחושה שאני עשיתי, אבל אני לא חושבת שהאגו אולי הוא איזשהו פקטור באמת בלקיחת אחריות, היא פשוט באמת התחושה שכשאנחנו לוקחים אחריות על משהו, אז זה בא עם איזושהי תחושה, ואני חושבת שזה אולי האגו. אני חושבת שמי שבאמת לוקח את האחריות עליו זה האינטלקט. והאינטלקט בעצם זה כמו הגייל של המרכבה שלנו, אז האינטלקט בעצם מחליט, זאת אומרת, האינטלקט מחליט איך לראות את הדברים. אם הוא מחליט לראות את הדברים בדרך מסוימת, בעצם כל המרכבה תלך אחרי זה. ולכן אני חושבת שאולי באמת המשקל הכי גדול כאן זה על האינטלקט, למרות שיש פה גם באמת עניין של אגו, אבל זה באמת משהו שקצת לא כל כך ברור לי, הנקודה הזאת. תודה.
Okay. Danny, about you, what is your opinion on the personality part, role of personality?
Yeah, so I actually think the personality does have a significant part in how to approach responsibility. And feel responsible for everything that happens, has a lot of personality aspect in it. but I think it's more of like around how you perceive the reality outside you and how you connect it to how you to your personality, basically. So actually, I do see how personality impact responsibility or taking responsibility, at least from how I understand it. Thank you.
Okay. You may translate in your own language also.
אוקיי. אז מה שאני חושב שיש חלק של הפרסונליטי בלקיחת אחריות, זה כמו נטייה אישית של מה שקורה סביבך ואיך אתה תופס אותו. האם אתה מרגיש שזה אחריותך, שזה שלך, שזה משהו שאתה צריך לפעול או לא. יש לזה הרבה מאוד, אני חושב, ככה אני מרגיש, הרבה מאוד אלמנטים פרסונליים של מי אתה וכן, עם מה באת לעולם. אוקיי, thank you.
Okay. So I'm telling something. So we are seeing what is the total mind and what is the conscious mind. The total mind is more powerful, and the conscious mind is only limited power, having limited power, where intellect, personality, ego, everything is very limited. The power of them is also very limited. So the function of them also is not in a proper way. So what is we have to understand is that within the powerless position of themselves, they may commit some mistake on their function. So here we cannot criticize anything, whether it may be intellect, whether it may be the personality, whether it may be the ego. Everything is very limited. So we cannot blame them as they have committed the mistake. So the very nature of themselves is very limited and their power is very limited. So they cannot do anything successfully. So what is the role of the personality? The personality is the basic nature of ourselves. So when the intellect functions, the combination of the intellect and the personality creates the psychological experience, psychological emotion, feelings, whatever we feel is the combination of intellect and the personality. According to our tendency and personality, we react with the situation and we create thereby we create some emotions, create some feelings. Those feelings itself is known as the ego part. The ego part is nothing but the psychological experience of ourselves. What we experience psychologically is the ego itself. Thereby we identify ourselves as somebody. So that is also natural. But here, so all our experience is not proper because even after we are having some experience, the intellect begins to select some experience is good, some experience is bad. Thereby it tries to regulate something. So because the intellect is also powerless, so within the limited power, it tries to separate everything, but it cannot separate everything because the very nature of the intellect is the power is very less. So we cannot find a proper result by selecting the emotions of ourselves. So, but anyhow, the intellect has to identify itself. The intellect has to realize itself. So it is having some limited power for itself. When it is functioning in the conscious mind, naturally it is having a limited power. So whenever it finds it is limited, so it allows everything to function in a proper way. So even the personality part, the tendency part is also important for executing any of our function. It also having some role. But even the personality part is having limited power in the conscious mind. It has more power in the total mind. The conscious mind, it is very 10%, but it is in the total mind, it has more power. So in the total mind, the tendency of ourselves, the inbuilt nature of our personality is more powerful. So actually, it is the construction of our subconscious mind. Our subconscious mind is the character part, the tendency part of ourself. And the subconscious mind is it is registered because of our past experience and everything. The subconscious mind is made up of our past experience, and because of our past experience, we have created some subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind is also somewhat powerful, and it is also giving some contribution. And if it is properly able to contribute in the total mind, we can successfully deal with the situation, successfully deal with the problem. But wherever the situation, the problem arises, the intellect alone is taking responsibility because it has to decide. So whenever it decides something, according to the decision of the intellect, every other aspect, the ego or the personality part, supports with the intellect. So if the intellect misguide, naturally the personality part also giving some wrong music and wrong emotions. So it also creates some problem because we are questioning, we are criticizing only our emotions. If the emotion is good, we are not criticizing it. If the emotion is bad, we are criticizing it. We want to get away from our emotions. So for the creation of emotions, the personality is taking some role. But beyond that, anyhow, we have to solve the external situation. So the external situation may be the basic structure of our problem. So we have to successfully deal with the external situation, because the external situation, that is the physical problem. The physical problem alone is the real problem. But we unnecessarily convert the physical problem into psychological problem only because of our wrong approach to that. So here, so the entire approach to the problem through a psychological way itself is the basic problem. So we have to deal with everything as a physical thing. So if you are interested upon our experience, if you are interested upon our emotions, then we are taking the entire problem as the psychological problem. So naturally, unconsciously, we are interested only upon our emotions, Even though we are thinking that we are interested upon the physical result, naturally and unconsciously we are interested upon the psychological experience alone. But it is the basic nature of ourselves. But even though we think we are interested only upon the physical result, but actually we are interested only upon the psychological result. The psychological result is only our psychological experience. The psychological experience may be in the form of pleasure or in the form of pain. We are prefer only the pleasure, and we are trying to remove the pain. So actually, the real problem is only psychological. Even though the physical problem is the real problem, but we take itself as the psychological problem. So the taking everything in the psychological problem is the basic reason for our entire problem. So the main thing we have to understand is that we have to take everything, all problem is only the physical aspect. So when the physical aspect is there, if we take it as a physical one, so physical thing alone has to be done. There is psychological agitation is not necessary. But if psychological agitation happens, it is the very nature of the conscious mind. The conscious mind will behave like this. For the personality part also having some role. So the personality part itself is a mechanical one. It is the nature of our mind. So it will always function like this. So it functions unconsciously, and the very nature of the unconscious function of the personality is also it is not a blamable one. It is not a questionable one. So, but at the same time, the burden goes only to the intellect part. So the intellect has to decide, but the intellect has to decide, and it has to understand that the personality part is not blamable one. It is not a questionable one. So, but naturally, it is a easy way for the intellect that it has to shift the responsibility to other things. That the ego is the problematic one, personality is the problematic one. Actually, the intellect alone is the problematic one, but it will not always. It will not admit its mistake. So the intellect has to admit its personality, admits its role, admits its defective nature. When the intellect admits its defective nature, the intellect itself will be upgraded into the intellect of the total mind. So now the intellect is functioning as the product of the conscious mind. If it submits that itself is the reason for the entire problem, the intellect will be upgraded into the part of the total mind. Then everything will be, when the intellect is upgraded to the total mind, every other aspect also will be upgraded as the part of the total mind. There, the the personality part, the basic nature of ourselves will be upgraded into the total mind. And in the total mind, everything will be all right, and there is no problem within itself. So the total function of the total mind will be very appropriate according to the situation, and the situation will be met in a proper way. Even though it may be beyond our capacity, everything will contribute. For example, the personality part that is made up of our subconscious mind, and within the subconscious mind, some deeper conscious mind is also available. And the deeper conscious mind is related to the total world, related to the cosmic mind itself. But it will not come for our help when the conscious mind is functioning. So when the total mind is functioning, the subconscious mind, that means our personality, along with the subconscious mind. So the hidden part of our subconscious mind, the total mind, the deeper conscious mind also will come for our help, and some mystery also is possible, even though we are not consciously taking any effort on our part. Some mysterious aspect also may reveal with the help of the deeper conscious mind. So all this happening only when the total mind is happening, total mind is functioning. So when the total mind is functioning like this, everything is possible. So even something may possible even beyond our capacity. We may think we can execute certain things alone because we are having some limited capacity, limited power. But beyond ourselves, the deeper conscious mind is the cosmic mind. The cosmic mind is more powerful, but it will function along with the subconscious mind also. So some impossible things also possible when the total mind is functioning. So what is necessary here is that we have to understand the role of the intellect and the personality part, ego part. Everything is limited in the conscious mind, and the entire conscious mind itself very limited, where the sensory part alone is very important. And with that understanding, the conscious mind will submit itself to the function of the total mind. When the total mind takes the role, everything will be all right, and nothing will be beyond our help, beyond our reach. Lanir?
Shri Bhagavat, you have to give a short summary. And then I can translate.
Okay.
Maybe I will say what I understand, and you can say.
Okay.
So to make everything short. Okay. In regard to the question that you started with, so which part takes the responsibility? Your answer was it's the intellect part. Yes. Yeah. So the intellect.
But more than that, what is the role of the personality part in the conscious mind? That also we have to understand.
Okay. What is the role? So what I understood from you, that the role of the personality is this is the attitude of acting in the world, and when it is combined with the intellect, it is making the sense of ego. That's what you said.
The emotions. Ego means all emotions are ego, so it creates the emotions. So the combination of intellect and the personality part creates the emotion. The emotion itself is it.
Okay. So actually the personality. So in a way, the personality is a part of the total mind. It has more weight in the total mind because actually it is it's subconscious. It's like the storehouse of our experiences. It has more weight. But in actual day-to-day life, the factor of the intellect is the one that actually takes the responsibility, and
Yeah.
and you said also that he is the intellect has the tendency to find faults in the ego, find faults in the character, in the conscious mind. It blames the other parts for not functioning well. And then it creates an inner war with the other parts. And this intellect, when it understands that is the problem, the intellect itself is the problem, because is dividing, is making inner war, is saying this is good, this is bad, this emotion is good, this emotion is bad. The ego is not functioning right. My personality is not a good one. I have to change the personality, or is making this inner war. When this intellect understands I am the problem, then he submit. And when the intellect submit, actually the whole conscious mind submit to the total mind.
Yeah.
And then functioning would be smooth and healthy, and for the benefit of all, for the benefit of myself and for the benefit of others. It will be a whole movement. But what I understood, that actually everything depends on the understanding of the intellect. Like the intellect has the major role in it. Because if the intellect understands in the right way, then everything is okay. And if the understanding he doesn't understand, then everything goes wrong. It's like the Bible, you know, the story of the snake and the Adam and Eve, and then so the snake, he gave by eating the apple. Actually, you got the intellect, so you got this. And because of the intellect, you were thrown out from paradise, because now you have the capability of saying this is good and this is bad. You have the fruit of knowledge, the knowledge of good and bad, and by this knowledge you are kicked from the heaven. So now you have to live in to work hard and suffer and everything. So so in summary, the role of the how do you define the role of the character? How do you, in a very 2 sentence, how do you define the role of the character?
So the character, because in the primary nature, in the conscious mind, it creates it is the reason for the emotions. It is the reason for the ego. But when the intellect understand the intellect alone is the problem for everything, then everything is upgraded. Everything is upgraded to the total mind. So all functioning in the conscious mind, intellect, personality, ego, everything functioning in the conscious mind, all are upgraded into the total mind. When everything is part in the total mind, the different kind of energy will come to the intellect, personality, and ego. Everything will have a different kind of energy. Within the different kind of energy, everything is good. Even the personality is also good. Personality, the basic nature, maybe the subconscious mind. But beyond the subconscious mind, some deeper conscious mind, that is cosmic mind, is also available. So it can be helpful when the total mind is functioning, where it can, the subconscious mind give way to the deeper conscious mind also. So where meeting any problem is very easy.
Okay.
Can I ask something, Shri Bhagavat? Maybe it will.
After the narration,
translation?
we can question and answer.
Fine.
Okay. So you said that like the character is creating the emotions. This is actually his role. He is creating our experience, our psychological experience.
Psychological experience.
Okay. אז בואו ננסה לתרגם ולתמצת את זה. אז לפי שרי בגבת, האישיות שלנו היא בעצם מה שבשילוב עם האינטלקט, היא מה שיוצר בעצם את ההתנסות שלנו בחיי היום-יום, את הרגשות, את מה שאנחנו מרגישים לגבי דברים. למשל, אם אני אדם אופטימי, ואני פוגש איזושהי בעיה בחיים שלי, אז האינטלקט שלי יפרש את הבעיה הזאת בצורה מסוימת, הוא יגיד, זה לא בעיה, זה אתגר, ואז יהיה לי, בגלל שאני רואה שזה אתגר ולא בעיה, מן הסתם יהיה גם רגש אחר. אבל אם אני פסימי, ואני נתקל באותה בעיה, ואז אני רואה בזה בעיה, אז הרגש יהיה בהתאם, אז אני אחוש שאני בבעיה ואני אתכווץ ויהיה לי, אני ארגיש שאני בצרה. אז זה התפקיד של בעצם האישיות. האישיות היא בעצם, בשילוב עם האינטלקט, היא יוצרת את הרגשות שלנו. שרי בגבת אומר שהאגו שלנו בסך הכל אוסף של הרגשות שלנו. זה לגבי הקרקטר, האישיות. לגבי העניין של איך אנחנו משתחררים, אז אנחנו משתחררים על ידי זה שהאינטלקט עצמו מבין שהתכונה שלו להפריד בין דברים ולהגיד זה טוב וזה רע, זה נחוץ, זה לא נחוץ, להאשים את האישיות שהיא לא טובה, להאשים את האגו שהוא לא טוב, להאשים את ההכרה, להאשים את העולם. הנטייה של האגו אז לעשות את הדברים האלה, של האינטלקט לעשות את הדברים האלה, היא בעצם הבעיה, היא מה שגורם לסבל. אז ברגע שהאינטלקט עצמו מבין את המוגבלות של היכולת שלו, ומפסיק לנסות לתקן ולהפסיק להאשים את העולם ואת האגו ואת האישיות בכל הבעיות. ברגע שזה קורה, אז אנחנו יכולים אז בעצם ישנו שחרור, ואז הכל כאילו עובר שדרוג. האינטלקט הופך להיות האינטלקט של המיינד שמעבר, האישיות הופכת להיות משהו של המיינד שמעבר, ולמעשה זה השחרור. אוקיי, שרי בגבה.
אוקיי.
תודה, ממש מרתק. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I have a little question.
You can ask question closer.
Yeah, I have a little question because Shri Bhagavat, you said, and I think this is the crux of the matter in your whole teaching, which is for me, it's something that I never quite understood fully. Okay. You said the problem is when we tend to prefer the good over the bad, right? the feeling of
Oh,
I would
oh.
like to have good experiences versus bad experiences.
Mm.
And you say the intellect is the regulator of this?
Oh.
You would say the intellect is the judge? It can transform this mechanism of preferring good over bad?
Mm.
Yeah, that's what you're saying?
So the mechanism creating the good and bad is the creation of the combination of intellect and our personality part. Our personality is our real nature, and the real nature and the intellect joins together. Thereby, we create some emotions. The emotions may be good or bad, and afterwards itself, the intellect begins to select its creations. This is good, this is bad. So thereby, we are creating a bad atmosphere.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you say the intellect choose to go with something or not to go with some or to resist it. The intellect.
So the intellect has to understand dealing with the emotion is not good. So because it itself has created the emotion, because of the intellect alone, our emotion has come. So we ourselves has created the emotion, then we question the emotions. It is not good for on our part. So it has to understand that we cannot question our emotions.
Mm-hmm. But you said this is a innate tendency to prefer the good and not the bad.
Oh, yeah, that is the tendency may be like this. But anyhow, we have to understand. We have to understand that itself is the problem.
Okay, let's say I understand it. I really understand that. I even have now situation in my life, in our life, we have a situation which really you could see it in how it functions, what you're telling, like outside problem brings you the feeling of something which is closing you, and you feel, oh, I cannot now obviously you want the feeling of being liberated from that. You don't want to feel something is let's say bounding you or something. You want to feel free, and this is where the conflict comes in, right? And then the outer problem becomes inner problem and the inner struggle.
Mm-hmm. So when we do not select our emotions, that means we are not creating it as a psychological problem. So if we select our emotion, we are creating the problem as a psychological problem. If you are not creating the emotion, the problem itself only a physical nature. So if it is in the physical nature, the total mind will take care of itself. So whenever we are taking it is in the psychological nature, psychological problem, because of only selecting the emotions. This is I want, this I don't want. This emotion I like, this emotion I don't like. In this manner alone, we convert every problem into psychological problem.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, if you disregard the psychological emotions, the total problem will be the physical one. When it is a physical one, the total mind will function. The total mind will take care of everything.
Yes. But let's say, what makes one person listen to what you're saying? One person will fully accept it and understand it, and in a way, the intellect will be surrendered to that understanding. And let's say another person hearing the same things, understanding also intellectually, maybe even agreeing, but it doesn't create the inner well, I'm forgetting words. the inner surrendering. Okay, it doesn't happen. It's the struggle still goes on, still having the it gets weight, it has weight over in the life. So why for one person it will be like that, for the other person it will be different? So I'm asking, where is the catch here? What's like, there is some level of maturity, I would say. I mean, I don't have any other word to understand to say it. Like, one person is mature to understand it, and the other person is not mature, though both of them maybe intellectually understood the same.
So even though we are committing mistake again and again, anyway we have to understand our mistake. So if you understand our mistake, the selecting the emotion alone is the basic mistake. If you understand selecting the emotion is the basic mistake, and then we'll be careful about our mistake. So we have to understand like this.
Mm-hmm. And you say it's only an intellectual process? There is nothing
intellectual process. Because our tendency may be the reason. The tendency may be the reason that because our tendency we may select the good thing. Our personality may be the reason for the selecting the good thing. But at the same time, if the intellect understand the false nature of the tendency or false nature of the personality, then everything will be all right. So the understanding nature is possible only for the intellect alone. The tendency cannot understand. It has no intellect. So intellect alone has the intellect. So it alone has to understand. The personality cannot understand.
Yes, I see that. But cannot be that for some person his intellect is more pure, less contaminated, or it has the more ability to perceive. Because in this intellect, you say, I feel there is some spiritual power, spiritual ability to really take it in both hands and really act according to it. It's really like a spiritual power.
So here you have to understand whether it is possible for you or not. So you can easily find out. Somebody is better easily understand. I cannot understand the very understanding that I cannot find. I cannot understand properly. The very submission itself creates the result, good result. Okay.
I think another point that was important that you said that I did not translate was that actually when the intellect surrenders, then another force, the total mind power, can come into being, like the deeper conscious mind.
Deeper conscious mind.
And then it can act in ways that is not possible for the little intellect.
Yeah.
So it's also important for understand that. Yes, like
because basically our personality, we think our personality is only a human personality. Actually, the basic nature of our personality is a divine one. So a divine personality is behind our human personality. So when the total mind is functioning, even the divine personality will take the role. Along with the human personality, the divine personality will also take the role.
One question: how do you separate between the conscious personal intellect versus the total mind intellect? How do you know which one is operating right now?
So the intellect of the total mind will not select anything. It will see the things in a physical way. The physical approach alone is there in the total mind. That is the function of the intellect in the total mind. But in the conscious mind, it always interested upon the emotions. It selects upon the emotions because it is it joins with the personality. The personality and the intellect is reason for our emotions. So it joins with the personality and interested upon the emotions. So when it is interested upon the emotions, the limited capacity of the intellect is functioning. So if it does not interested upon the emotions, it becomes the part of the total mind. When it is part of the total mind, the different kind of intellect will function. So that is the total function of the intellect. Leonard, you can translate the necessary things.
אוקיי, אז דני שאל איך אני יודע אם כרגע מתפקד אצלי האינטלקט הקטן, או האינטלקט של ה-conscious mind, או האינטלקט של ה-total mind, של המיינד הטוטלי. שבגבת ענה שכאשר האינטלקט הטוטלי מתפקד, אין לו עניין במה אני מרגיש כרגע, ואם מה שאני מרגיש זה טוב, לא טוב, והרגש הזה טוב, הוא לא מתעסק עם האישיו הזה, הוא פשוט מסתכל על הבעיה באופן פיזי, מה הבעיה, ופונה לבעיה ישירות. וכאשר אין את ההתעסקות עם מה אני מרגיש, ואין את האינטלקט בכלל, האינטלקט של המיינד הטוטלי לא מעניין אותו איך אנחנו מרגישים. מבחינתו מה שאנחנו מרגישים זה רק תגובה של האישיות שלנו, והיא לא תורמת שום דבר לפתרון של הבעיה, אלא פשוט הבעיה עצמה. ואז היכולות שלנו הופכות להיות הרבה יותר גבוהות, כי האינטלקט כבר לא מחולק, הוא לא תפוס במה אני מרגיש, ואני צריך להרגיש את זה, ואני מעדיף את זה, לא, הוא פשוט משוחרר. האינטלקט משוחרר להתעסק עם משהו נועד להתעסק איתו, שזה לפתור בעיה. מכונה לפתרון בעיה. אוקיי.
If any clarification required, we can talk. Otherwise, we can meet in the next week.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll stop recording now.
Okay.